add a pinch of salt and enough water to make it into a dough. My mother's secret was that she always added freshly chopped sage and onions to the sausage meat, which gives a real extra dimension. Roll it out gently until you have a long shape to match the length of the pastry. Then place it onto the pastry, brush one side with beaten egg and fold over, making sure the seam is underneath. Then cut out the sausage rolls. They can be any size, doesn't matter. Make 3 snips across the top of each one and then finish off with some beaten egg and pop them into the oven. If you want to get ahead, you can pack the cooled sausage rolls into boxes and freeze them. When they defrost, they'll be just as crisp as when you made them, so you can serve them at any time over the holiday. I happen to think sausage rolls are the ultimate canapé to serve with drinks, but if you want something different, here's a few ideas. I'm going to show you something that I've only just discovered this year and I'm quite excited about it. It's a pastry called field brick. When you unpack it, it's got sheets of paper between the sheets of pastry, so you peel one off like this. And then underneath you find the pastry. And if you think phyllo, you're kind of nearly there. But it's better than phyllo, I think, because it's not quite so brittle. It's very silky to feel and quite good to handle. And when you eat it, it's much, much lighter. These are quick and easy, but also impressive. Lay out the pastry, then top it with thinly sliced Parma ham, grated pecorino cheese, freshly chopped rosemary and black pepper. Bake in the oven just for 15 minutes and serve with your favourite Christmas tipple. We have a need to party. It's part of being human, and so it's lovely to just once a year say goodbye to work, to everything else, and just have a real celebration. Shop-bought canapés may be the most convenient, but these couldn't be easier. They're much cheaper and oh so much classier. These are called pistachio sablés. All you do is combine diced butter with flour, then add a pinch of cayenne pepper and seasoning. Then add shelled chopped pistachios and some freshly grated parmesan. Mix it all together, then transfer the dough onto a board. After that, lightly roll it to about 18 centimetres long. Wrap in cling film and chill in the freezer for 30 minutes. Then cut the chilled log into little discs and bake in the oven for up to 15 minutes. Here's another idea using the same dough, but this time you use Gruyere cheese and parmesan, but no nuts. Roll the dough into an oblong, cut it into strips, bake and serve with drinks. Christmas is food-wise the biggest feast in the calendar, and certainly not a time for self-denial. Good food and good wine is meant to be savoured and enjoyed and celebrated. So, some more celebration recipes coming up. A luxurious chocolate and sour cherry crumble, a Christmas cracker filled with Christmas pudding, and some very new ideas for the traditional trifle. Well, I have to say that in our house, Christmas wouldn't ever be Christmas without a trifle. And this year, I've been making new recipes for trifles, and this is one of my favourites, although I like them all. But this one's made with this, which is called Panettone, and it comes in pretty boxes like this at Christmas time, and it's Italian fruit bread. And the other ingredient, because normally in a trifle you would be using Madeira or sherry, this time we're using an Italian fortified wine called Marsala wine, which has a lovely, lovely deep flavour. What I'm going to do first of all is just show you, in case you haven't ever seen panettone, what it looks like. It's lovely and light and very, very fragrant. You start off in a trifle bowl with chunks of the fruit bread, and then you soak it in masala for about 40 minutes. Now, during that 40 minutes, you need to just tip the bowl right over from side to side so that you make sure all the masala is soaked into the bread. It's going to have some extra fruit in it, although there's some in the panettone, we're putting extra. And what I've got here is chopped apricots and raisins. And what I did with those was brought them up to the boil in some marsala, and then they've been soaking as well to sort of plump up and get nice and juicy. We're now going to make a real proper homemade custard, the sort that's made with proper cream, and quite honestly, if you've made a homemade custard with all the right ingredients, you'll never want to buy one again. So we're starting off here in a saucepan with some double cream. I'm also adding masala wine. Give them a quick whisk together and leave them to heat gently to simmering point. And then the other ingredients in the custard are 5 egg yolks, some caster sugar, and then this is the magic ingredient, and that is corn flour. I'm going to combine these together. Now, the reason the corn flour's there, and I know chefs wouldn't approve of this, but I don't mind about chefs because we're home cooks, is that if you overheat the cream and you're just doing a straight custard with cream and egg yolks, it can curdle. But that little magic bit of corn flour in there is what's going to stop that happening. Or the good news is that even if it does curdle, if you've got that little bit of corn flour in, you can take it away and just whip it back to smooth again. The hot cream and masala goes on to the egg yolks. One good whisk. That's all going to be returned to the saucepan. Back onto the heat, and then we're just going to whisk it. You can see it's already bubbling, and it'll thicken. Once the custard has got completely cold, you can then pour it over the panettone and the fruit. Then just give it a shake to distribute it evenly. And then on top of that, I've got some very lightly whipped cream here. Be careful when you whip the cream, it should be to the floppy stage, not too stiff, otherwise it's difficult to spread. And then finally, we've got toasted flaked almonds. And there you have it, a very special panettone and zabaione trifle, Italian custard made with sweet masala wine. And here are some alternatives. This is the traditional old-fashioned trifle, flavoured with raspberries and a vanilla-flavoured custard. This one here is a drambuie trifle, a boozy alternative to serve on hogmanay. It's made with whiskey liqueur custard and cream. But if chocolate is what you love, this is a chocolate lover's recipe. It's called chocolate and sour cherry crumble. It's made with a custard, just like we made before, with cocoa powder and one other key ingredient, dry soured cherries. Bring them up to simmering point in brandy, then leave for an hour or so to soak. Combine the cherries with the custard and pour into a bowl. Then whilst it's cooling, make a crumble. Into a processor, put self-raising flour, cocoa powder, demerara sugar and butter. Then give them a whiz until it becomes fine breadcrumbs. Add whole unblanched almonds. Pulse them until they are roughly chopped to a crunchy texture. Then transfer the crumble onto the cooled chocolate mixture. After it's been in the oven for about 35 minutes, let it rest, then sprinkle with cocoa powder and these glorious edible sugar sparkles. Then serve with some chilled pouring cream. I do hope I've been able to convince you that home cooking at Christmas really is worth the effort, and it's certainly a lot less stressful than tearing around the supermarkets. And I promise you, the proof of the pudding will definitely be in the eating. So when it comes to Christmas Day, the Christmas pudding is going to need another 2 hours steaming. Does it all happily, all by itself. But if I still haven't been able to convince you, then I'm going to show you an idea for an alternative. Finally, I've found a sublime way to use up Christmas pudding leftovers. These are called Christmas cracker puddings, using field-a-brick pastry that I showed you earlier. They're quick, easy, and absolutely everybody loves them. Take some Christmas pudding and just make it into a shape that will fill the Christmas cracker. I'm going to take the pastry, fold over a little piece like this to begin with, put that onto the pastry, and then I'm going to roll it up into my Christmas cracker. Make sure the join is underneath, like that, and then tie it up, tie up the ends. And I've got another piece of pastry here, and when you're using this, I've got this already here, you need to cover it with paper because it dries out quickly, like phyllo pastry. And what I'm going to do is just cut ribbons. Then you pinch the end of the cracker together like that. Take one of my ribbons, put it over the top, then bring both pieces underneath, and then just gently, very, very gently tie it. And you have to be gentle here, otherwise it breaks. It is fiddly. I admit it's fiddly, but just imagine making pastry, resting it, rolling it out and all of that. And now you see that it's done now. It was fiddly, but it's done. Plonk it onto a baking sheet and then whip it into the oven, and they'll take 18 minutes, that's all, to cook. So just let them cool slightly when they're cooked, and then it's nice to serve them cut in half. So then I'm going to put them onto a serving plate. We're going to serve it with something called mascarpone rum cream, and that's what it is. It's mascarpone with rum added. And it's also very, very good with ice cream. And then as it goes to the table, just a little flurry of icing sugar. Now all I'm going to need to make my Christmas a happy one is to know that maybe I've been able to help those of you who feel a bit unsure to have a go at cooking Christmas yourselves. I love listening to Dickens at Christmas when I'm cooking, and so I'm going to leave you with some of his words. Draw up your chair near the blazing fire, fill your glass and send round the song. So now there's only one thing to say, and that is, I hope you all have a really happy one.